What a night at the Convention Center last night. Hall of Fame 2025. That class now inducted. Tonight, another big night downtown. Opening night for the Grizz. It's Ja, it's Zion. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 25th season of Grizzlies basketball. I remember year number one. I remember the Pursuit team desperately trying to bring a ball club here. I remember there were people who didn't want the Grizzlies to come. Now they're here. 245 players have worn a Memphis uniform since they arrived. 58% of the time they made the playoffs. Will they make the playoffs this year? It's like only 58% of the team can play. No, it's a little bit more than that, but you are missing 4 key players that will be rotation players. But you do have Ja, and you do have Zion. I asked one of the Grizzlies officials last night, how many times do we think Ja and Zion, both examples of ill health, how many times have they faced each other? Because they face each other 4 times a year. What is it, 4 years now they've all been around? 16 games? He kind of intonated at least once a year. So maybe this will be the 5th meeting that they have had. And now we all sit and we all wait. And when will the lease get done? I think we might be talking about this in the Business of Sports with Joe Dank near the bottom of the hour. But I firmly believe, and I don't know that this is a bad thing, but if you look at what major league teams now do when they deal with cities on their stadiums, they want the areas around the stadium as entertainment districts. They want to control those areas. They want another revenue stream. That's now part of being a big league owner. And if you look at Baseball Village in St. Louis, if you look at what the area around the new Atlanta baseball stadium is, if you look at what Chicago, the Bulls, are trying to do near the United Center, used to be the Chicago Stadium, they are building a entertainment district around that area, which they will derive a lot of the money. Make no mistake about it, this thing is not just about the $550 million of renovation around FedEx Forum or in FedEx Forum. This is about the area around there, safety-wise, what they're going to do with Beale Street, maybe more building of Beale Street, and I believe that the Grizzlies want direct control, maybe ownership of a bunch of that. That's probably the biggest part of the sticking points that this deal has not been finalized. So we'll wait and we'll see on all of that. And it might be a good thing. That's just the way it is with business these days. In the major leagues, you want to be a big league city? Now you have to relinquish some of that control, not just of your stadium that you build and pay for, but also of the area around it. So stay tuned. Before we bring in Dennis, we got Tim Doolin on the World Series. That comes your way at the bottom of the hour. There was a great night last night. The headliner for the Hall of Fame was Tony Allen, Mr. Grit and Grind, and I will tell you, good behavior last night. No expletives. Nothing like that. It was a short and sweet. It was not nearly as long as the rambling, I think, 26 minutes he did that were full of expletives at FedEx Forum. He was on his best behavior last night, and he's such an interesting guy. And he is a unique fella, because how many guys who really did not have a lot of offensive skills end up making Halls of Fame or having their jerseys retired into the rafters of the stadiums? Not many, but this guy did. And, you know, he told a funny story. He did not want to come to Memphis. When his agent called, he didn't want to take Memphis's call. He had a bad perception of what this city was all about. He'd come from Boston. He was originally from Chicago, so you're talking about living in major cities. Didn't know much about it. Was not in great shape. He saw Zach Randolph, who, by the way, was there last night to support him. And I would assume that in the end, all of the core 4 basketball players of the Grizzlies will make it into the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. Now you got Zebo, and now you have Tony Allen. There's no question Marc Gasol's going to get in. The kid went and played high school ball here at Lausanne. And part of the prerequisite is you have to be retired 5 years. So Mike Conley's still playing. Mike Conley's going to get in. But Alan talked about seeing Zebo and the shape he was in. And he said, I had to get in shape. And then he realized that this roster, if he played a particular role, which he did, they could be successful. And, of course, the rest is history. Matt Cain inducted in, Mr. Perfect. He pitched a perfect game. He's a local guy, very humble guy. It was nice to hear from him. The nicest guy in all of sports. I swear to you, since I have been here, one of my all-time favorites, Tommy Buford, he got into the hall last night. Remember, he was voted the ATP Tournament Director of the Year. So many years. He was a people person, and players gravitated to him. Now, he really went out of his way for each and every player. A neat guy. He gets in. 2 high school legends, in my mind. Bubba Luckett, Christian Brothers, and Fred Horton. He famous with Louisville wielding the chair in Freedom Hall. And then a high school coach, still to this day, 766 wins. He's retired like 3 times. They keep calling him back in. He's going to be the coach at Kingsbury this year. Lucy Weiner, who was the little dynamite gymnast from White Station High School on the '84 Olympic team. She was already an international star in gymnastics before she graduated high school. And, of course, she had the very first perfect 10 in the NCAA. Curtis Person Sr., one of the great senior amateurs of all time. This is a guy who had a disease in his 50s, late 40s, overcame it. He would have been a PGA Tour star, but they didn't pay money like they do now. So he got in the car business, and he did very well in the car business, but he would have been a tour player had they paid him like they do now. And he had a string where he won like 179 tournaments, but at one time he won 38 amateur senior events in a row. He had the senior Grand Slam at the time, the 4 majors. 38 in a row in his early 60s. That is phenomenal. Carrie Yurdy, who coached at the U of M, coached at Briarcrest because she wanted her kids to get a great education there. When she was at Briarcrest, she won 92% of her games. That's incredible. Her 3 sons and her husband were there. Speaking of which, Joy Lee McNellis, a joy, literally, in this town for 12 years as the women's basketball coach at the U of M, went on. The only thing that ever lured her away, because she got offers from Power 4 schools, big schools, to go coach, because she made everything so interesting. She turned them all down till her alma mater came calling at Hattiesburg, and she coached there another 20 years. It was great to see her kids. Whitney gave the speech. Dennis, her father, would have been too emotional, so he let her daughter do it, who's now a nurse practitioner, by the way, in Hattiesburg. And her son is coaching Texas San Antonio. He's been a women's coach for a long time. He's now swung over to the men. He's a GA at Texas San Antonio, so we'll see him later. And then the final inductee, and I really did not know much about Sputnik Monroe. He got in on a legacy. So John Stam, the former Commercial Appeal sports editor, and John Ganazzo, who truly is the sports historian of Memphis, and has run all the stat crews forever. They do a legacy award. This is the second one Memphis has given. It was to Sputnik Monroe. Now, I knew Sputnik Monroe was a wrestler. I did not know what a civil rights trailblazer he was. And his daughter, by the way, gave probably the most interesting speech of the night. It was really beautiful. He was the first guy to ever have a black tag team partner. That was considered a no-no. He literally forced promoters to break Jim Crow laws. Because remember this 50s, 60s now. They broke Jim Crow laws, and he would invite all the African Americans in that were waiting outside in and told them, sit anywhere you want to. If you want me to wrestle, those are my rules. He was really and truly an amazing guy. So it was truly an amazing night last night. As we sit in the Family Leisure Studios, you know that world's biggest spa sale still going on. It's where you can get state-of-the-art, beautiful spa for under $3,000, where you can get the swim spas. That's like a treadmill. You know, you're in place and you can adjust the level of the flow against you in order to get the best cardio workout without putting any kind of bearing of weight on your joints. It's amazing, and they're now 30% off. Plus, if you get a floor model, you get an even better deal. And the cold plunges, the newest thing where you put ice in there, they're under $5,000. All you got to do is get there. I-40 and Wooden Road. Tell them we sent you. You always get a better deal. And go check out the world's biggest spa sale. All of a sudden, time has changed.
It's time for Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave.
Welcome to Dennis on Dave.
What you got for us, sir?
Jeff Hewlett, who wrote and sang that jingle there, is going to be performing at DKDC in Cooper Young Saturday after Halloween at 7 o'clock. An unusually early start. He and his band will be playing at DKDC. You guys
I would like to say, what does DKDC stand for, by the way?
I have no idea. I've lived down the street from it for as long as it's been open, but I don't know what it's next door to the beauty shop.
Yeah. Oh,
and former Mulan that is no longer.
Oh, yeah.
Mulan.
Oh, that's out now, huh?
It burned. Their kitchen burned. I saw it happen, and then they're not rebuilding. Somebody will go in there. And by the way, Landon did a great job while you were out.
No.
I was on with him twice, and
Every
he
one
did a
of my
great
guests
job.
have said that.
Yeah,
so we applaud Landon Schmidt.
Well, I appreciate it.
Superstar on the rise.
So we're going into the NBA. The West, of course, is so far and beyond the East in the NBA. It's the same conversation we have every year. Gosh, I wish we were in the East. The Grizzlies' life would be so much simpler. In the additions to the team, I like Caldwell Pope a lot. I wasn't familiar with Cedric Coward, and then I saw the headline, Coward traded to the Grizzlies. I was like, damn, that sounds kind of harsh. Oh, wait, it's his name.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a judgment on a player that we were picking up.
No.
It's going to be an interesting season. We don't really have a big enough sample size to know what Isolo is going to do with this team.
No.
There's some people who think he's going to slow it down. There's some people who think he's going to speed it up. We just don't know. I
think speeding it up is probably a better bet.
I hope so. I don't want him to slow it down. God knows. That's the last thing I want.
God knows they got to play better defense.
But
that's for
we
sure.
are,
and he preaches that. So we'll see.
We're going to spend the season doing what we do every year, worrying about Ja getting hurt. That's just what it is to be a Grizzlies fan now. Last night, I don't know. I did watch the Lakers game. LeBron sitting on the sidelines with his little fake glasses, and Luka really looked like he pulled a groin in that game. I mean, his own, but he really looked like he pulled a groin in the very first game of the season. We don't know. Also in the West, in Dallas, Jason Kidd seems serious about keeping Cooper Flagg at point guard.
Well, that would make them, the biggest team ever? Although this Houston team that I watched with OKC, they're giants, too.
They're huge, and they're very young. But Dallas, if Cooper Flagg is their point guard at 6'9", he'd be the tallest point guard in NBA history because Magic was 6'8".
That's what I was just going to say. How tall was Magic?
Magic, who is, of course, the greatest point guard to ever play the game, was 6'8", and Flagg is 6'9", and they would be huge. Dallas is a serious contender.
I am, the league always gets great players in, and now we get 30% of them. The last, 5 MVPs have been foreign-born. I think it's the last 5. And I got Wembanyama a couple of years ago, and he was going to be the next greatest thing. And they're saying the same thing about Cooper Flagg. I'm really interested to see if this guy can live up to the billing, because he could be like a Magic.
Oh, he looks like
not
he's
just
really
a Magic,
special.
kind of a combination of Magic and Larry Bird.
Yeah, no, he's really special. You got to feel for Seattle. The city, the poor city of Seattle. I mean, they get to Game 7. And they
had it
lose,
3-1.
They lose it late. And then of course last year they had to watch their former NBA team win the championship. I mean, the Thunder used to be the Supersonics, and so Seattle just keeps happening to them. The Super Bowl, 6 feet away from winning the Super Bowl. And, of course...
Crazy play calling.
Well, and we all know why. Because, the coach is...
Pete Carroll?
Yeah, Pete Carroll hated Marshawn Lynch, and he wasn't going to let him get MVP, so he wasn't going to hand him the football. So instead, he has Russ Wilson throw it, and he throws it away, and they lose the game. I mean, Seattle...
He handed New England another championship.
Yeah, he just gave it right to him. All right, now this is an interesting thing. Joe may talk about this, I don't know. But the average NFL game has 11 minutes of action. That's what you're actually seeing on TV. It's 11 minutes of action. And you're seeing an hour of commercials. An NBA game averages 90 commercials. There are 90 commercials in an NBA game.
Really?
Now, that's on commercial TV. Now, here's the weird part. On streaming services, the ads are even longer. They're not constrained to the 15-second increments, 15, 30, 45 a minute.
Right.
They can be as long or as short as they want, and they generally run longer than 2 minutes.
But there's only so many breaks. I mean,
No, that's what happens. On a streaming service, as the game progresses, you are no longer watching a live game.
You're not in real time?
No, you're not in real time.
I didn't know this.
They can be as much as 3 minutes behind actual game time on a streaming service.
I have noticed this. If I'm looking at, those game casts you have on the sports apps that we all check scores with and see what's going on in games, they're always ahead of the broadcast.
Well, it can be as much as 3 minutes difference.
Wow,
So
I
you're
never
not
realized
watching. If you're
that.
watching a game on a streaming service, you are not watching a live game by halftime, by halfway through the game, whatever the sport. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel, after benching Tua for Quinn Evers in a blowout loss to the Browns, says he's sticking with Tua as his starter. And said, well, I don't think we're going to throw 10 picks.
That's
a vote of confidence.
That guy's dead man walking.
McDaniel is falling apart.
Yeah.
He looks like a cross between a guy who would be sitting in a median with a cardboard sign and
never
the guy
looked
you
like
really
a head football coach in the NFL.
and a guy that you really don't want to show up at a party. He might get the hook before Tua does. I mean, he's going to get fired. I don't know if you know, this is so weird. There are 5 head coaches in the NFL with Scottish-sounding names. You got Sean McDermott in Buffalo. You got Sean McVay in L.A., McDaniel in Miami, Mike McDonald in Seattle, and Mike McCoy of the Titans. You have 5 different guys with the MC at the front of them.
Wow.
It doesn't mean anything. It was just when I was looking at McDaniel and thinking
1/6
about
of the league is Irish, is what you're saying.
It was Scottish.
Scottish.
It's Daniel.
Sorry, Scotty.
Beat me up. I kept calling McDaniel by the wrong name when I was doing notes because there's so many Mook coaches in the NFL. We all agree that the owner of the Jets, Woody Johnson, is an imbecile, but I do agree with him on this one thing. It is time to move off of Justin Fields.
Oh, I could have told you that before you got him. He was a Bear, remember?
Yeah, and he was terrible, and he's been awful with the Jets, and he will be pocketing $30 million in guaranteed money to fail for the Jets. And this is after failing for 2 other teams.
Why would you give that guy a 2-year, $40 million deal, of which 30 is guaranteed? That's insanity.
It is insanity. Guaranteed money in the NFL is crazy to begin with. He may rebound with another team. I mean, look at the list of quarterbacks that are doing well on at least their second team. I mean, you got Matt Stafford with the Rams. He's putting up MVP candidate numbers. You got Sam Darnold at Seattle, Daniel Jones with the Colts, Mac Jones in San Francisco. As much as I hate to say it, Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. These are all guys at least on their second team who are playing really good football. And this is unprecedented. There was a time where if you failed as a starter in the NFL, you were done.
Aaron Rodgers is an outlier and all that, but the other 3 that you mentioned are perfect examples. I don't even know if you mentioned Baker Mayfield. But
I did not.
Okay, so Baker Mayfield's another one. If you get with the right coach and the right system, you can be a star. That's why it's so important that first drafting, you get matched right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and Daniel Jones might be the very best example of that. With what he's doing at Indy and how he started with the New York Giants, that's amazing.
He did get the Giants to the playoffs, which is an incredible achievement. But this Indy team is not going to be a factor in the NFL this year, and he is not going to be MVP. That's just pure fantasy. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, the only teams they've beaten, the only team that so far the Steelers have beaten that's doing well is the Patriots. Every team that the Steelers have beaten are not good teams. Last week they beat the Bengals, for God's sake. Anybody can beat the Bengals. They have a lot of.
No, the Bengals beat them. Joe Flacco.
I see that right? Yeah, that's right. Shoot, that's right. Sorry, I misspoke. But that again is the point: is that the Steelers are not nearly as good as they look on paper. Albert Pujols will not be managing the Angels.
I know.
They hired somebody else, so he won't get to manage games that no one watches, like he played games that no one watches. It's so sad that so many great players have played for the Angels because nobody watches Angels baseball. Nobody watches West Coast baseball. If you're not on the Dodgers and you play on the West Coast, nobody's going to see you. Look at all the guys that went through Anaheim. Nolan Ryan, Vlad Guerrero Sr., Tim Salmon, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. Nobody saw any of these guys play, and they're all absolutely amazing. There was a cool thing about Shohei, not like there's anything uncool. I mean, Shohei's amazing.
Yeah.
But he was spotted. He had no idea that there was a camera pointed at him. He was getting himself a cup of water in the dugout. And he stood there and he filled up 8 other cups of water and set them on top of the water cooler. He went ahead and got cups of water for the rest of his teammates while he was standing there.
When you're DH and you got nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you've talked about this. Jack Nicklaus winning his
Yes,
lawsuit.
I did yesterday.
$50 million in a defamation suit against the Nicklaus Company, the company he started.
That's because the guy Milstein that bought it took the name.
Yeah, but he made the false claims about Nicklaus.
Said he was starting to get
going to live.
dementia.
Yeah. Couldn't handle his own business.
Oh, he's the guy that started the rumor that Jack was considering a $750 million offer
to be the face of Live.
Yeah,
and that
never really occurred.
That's about as insulting as you can get.
Yeah.
That Nicklaus would do that.
Yeah.
Nicklaus believes in his PGA legacy more than just about
no
anything.
doubt.
And because you're such a golf guy, I assume you talked about golf in Yankee Stadium.
No, I did not.
Did you see golf?
No,
in
I
Yankee Stadium?
didn't. Is this a what's the thing the Tiger does? The TGL?
This is average Joes are going to get to do this. Just you can do this. If you go to New York, you can do this. The stadium is idle until the Pinstripe Bowl. They got nothing going on in Yankee Stadium. So golfers will be able to hit from the 200 and 300 concourses down to custom greens on the field of Yankee Stadium.
So it's like Topgolf.
Something like that. And it's $80. It starts at $80. It's cheaper than most private clubs. You can go hit golf balls into Yankee Stadium. I'm thinking about going to New York just so I can hit balls in Yankee Stadium. Can you imagine? That would be the greatest thing ever. Cam Newton disputed that Drake May is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Statistically, there's absolutely no doubt that Drake May is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL this year, but it's because Cam Newton and his stupid hats failed to be the guy after the guy in New England.
Right.
And so he refuses to acknowledge that there is a guy who's going to take New England to the playoffs.
And I like Drake May. I think he's got the potential to really be living up to the billing. But we got a little small sample size here to put him as top 5.
True. But we both said when the season started that the Patriots were going to be a very improved team. And they
Mike Vrabel, that's all I got to tell you.
Absolutely. Because once he left Tennessee, the whole thing turned ugly. My weekly shot at the Cowboys, yes, I will admit the Cowboys are playing great offense. And Dak is playing great football. They also are this year on track to have opposing quarterbacks have the highest quarterback rating against a team ever in the NFL. Right now, opposing quarterbacks playing the Cowboys are averaging a 116.1 passer rating.
I give you Caleb Williams. That's where he started playing well.
And, by the way, the Cowboys have only won at home this season.
Is that right?
They haven't won
a road game?
No.
Wow.
So
Oregon, they must have a bunch of road games coming up.
And finally, you have already talked about this, Oregon football, who famously, they have a lot of different uniforms because Paul Allen made a lot of money on his Microsoft stock, will dress this week in tie-dyed colored uniforms to honor the Grateful Dead.
I love it.
I'm not making that up. They are honoring the Grateful Dead, and
that's actually Nike
Nike money, of course. That's a lot of effort to honor a band that had one top 10 hit.
Yes, but they had many albums and many tours that lasted for hours.
One top 10
cult following that is second to none.
One top 10 hit. That's behind Crowded House, Stained, and La Bouche, all of whom had 2 top 10 hits.
The Deadheads may be after you.
Oh, our whole generation. You and I,
lack of respect.
Everybody in our generation knows a bunch of Deadheads. And if they're listening to this show, they won't remember it 5 minutes from now.
Oh, my God.
What? They're stoned. They're dead.
There's our curmudgeon. He's back. It's good to see you again.
You too.
We will see you next Wednesday. It's brought to you in part by Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf. 11 offers in 5 days. Oh, yeah, it happens all the time with Sheldon. He could hardly play his lousy game of golf when another one of his listings in East Memphis became so popular that many of the offers were above list price. And how about this? Another one of those listings in Germantown sold, and it wasn't even on the market. Now, he'll tell you this doesn't happen all the time, but he's got ways to make sure your property becomes the hot one that people want. He's part of this nationwide relocation network that's got a highly successful strategic marketing program that means the difference in what you make and when you make it. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling, interview 2 to 3 real estate agents. Just make sure Sheldon is one of them. Find out why they call him Sheldon. That's Sheldon Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546. Joe Dank on the Business of Sports. Man, have we got some things to talk about. He comes your way in just a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporting luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
On eBay, every find has a story. Like, if you're looking for a vintage band t-shirt, the one you wore everywhere until you lost it, now you're on eBay, and there it is. The things you love have a way of finding their way back to you, especially on eBay. From rare collectibles and vintage cars to designer fashion, it's all there. Shop eBay for millions of finds, each with a story. eBay, things people love.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We get down to business on Wednesdays with our expert on the business of sports, former GM at 24 and 30, former sports producer and director. Joe Dank joins us now. Believe it or not, year 25 of the Grizz. Man, time can fly when you're having fun. And tonight, New Orleans is in town. It's amazing. A quarter of the century. Grizzlies basketball downtown. Good morning.
Good morning, David. Yeah, it is. It's an exciting time, I think, and this is. But I think it comes at a time that's really important for the team, the franchise, and the future of the team and the franchise in the city, given the some of the circumstances that are on the table, and not the least of which we've discussed in the past, is the status of the arena lease for the Grizzlies, because that, of course, is so central to the future of the team and the certainty that the team will be here for a long time. So I think, this season can impact that decision on two fronts. Attendance is an important issue for the Grizzlies. They finished 27th last year in attendance in the league, averaging just over averaging 16,600 fans per game. That was 92% of the capacity of the arena. The league overall averaged 18,000 fans per game, so about 1,500 more.
What would the average, though, because some of those buildings are actually bigger, so what would the capacity percentage of those be?
Well, I mean, that would be different everywhere, yes, of course.
But I'm just saying average, since they're 1,500 below the actual average attendance of the league, what would the average capacity be? I would imagine the 92% would be about right on, wouldn't it?
Well, the biggest, Chicago, for example, sells out every night. So, and they led the league in attendance with over 20,000 a game. United Center is always packed. So,
right.
I believe the league plays to a slightly higher capacity than the 92%, probably closer to 95, 96, just estimating based on looking at the total list. But nevertheless, that is a factor for everybody who owns one of these teams, obviously, is to put fans into the stands. And look, there's usually a relationship between how many fans are in the stands and how the team is doing. And so that's important this year.
Well, I think when we get back to the lease, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I don't think you were hanging on at that point. Some of this league negotiation, or not league, some of this negotiation with Robert Pera and the Grizzlies administration and the city over the FedEx Forum lease has to do with the area around FedEx Forum, like Baseball Village in St. Louis, like in Atlanta, like what the Bulls owners are trying to do around the United Center in Chicago. I think that the Grizzlies would like to control more of the area around the stadium, around Beale Street, maybe the addition of some new things that they might have ownership in, but certainly in control of that entertainment district. I think that's a big part of this negotiation.
Yeah, I think that absolutely is. And, yet another example would be the Deer District in Milwaukee. And now that was in conjunction with the construction of a new arena there. And not long after that, Deer District, which was a mixed-use development in the area surrounding, rehabbed an area that was in need of some rehab, brought new entertainment venues to the downtown area. And keep in mind, Milwaukee is not one of the biggest teams in the league. Milwaukee's in about the 38th media market. Memphis is 51st. But not long after the Deer District opened and the new arena opened, you may recall, the Bucks did win an NBA championship. So there are sometimes a relationship to making these types of investments and having it pay off. I can think of nothing better than the Grizzlies being a true transformative, motivational element to rehab areas of the downtown and make a real interesting entertainment, mixed-use development area in and around the FedEx Forum area. I think that has the potential to transform the community, the downtown Memphis, and we know that would be something that I think the entire community would welcome.
You know what? Whoever the catalyst might be, whatever entity is in control, as long as it's better. And I think, we've all in the past enjoyed the Beale Street experience, but if it can be safer or perceived to be safer and the Grizzlies can do a better job of controlling that, I don't care. Why not? Just so long as it's somebody that does it and that people want to go back to restaurants downtown. They want to go and feel safe when they go to the Orpheum. And there's 41 Grizzlies games, really 43 with the exhibition season this year. There's 20 Tiger games. That's 63 dates. I want to feel real good about those dates.
Well, and I too agree. It doesn't matter who does it, but if you were to pick anybody with, say, the vested interest and the resources available to really make a big play downtown, I think any list would probably start with the Grizzlies.
Yeah. We know that NBC signed this long-term deal because we've been watching all the promotions for the last 2 or 3 weeks about how it's back on NBC. We got Round Ball Rock, John Tesh's Beauty. That's back in vogue. Makes me think of the Bulls and Michael Jordan and Marv Albert. I love it. And we saw a doubleheader last night. What we don't know is, what are the local deals? FanDuel is now the name of the network that the Grizzlies are on. It's had a couple of different iterations. It's on Comcast on 831. We know that. We know that Pete and Brevin and Fish are going to be once again in place doing their thing on these broadcasts. But I don't know how long the deal is. I don't know if it's a lucrative deal or if it's lost value, because we know those local network deals have not been real healthy the last couple of years. Where does all that stand, Joe Dank?
Well, what we do know from previous reports is that the regional sports network deals, currently, as you say, now called FanDuel, once known as Valley Sports, and prior to that, even known as
Fox Sports.
Fox Sports Southeast and those kinds of things. That business has not been healthy, and that's simply the result of cord cutting. And so there are far fewer subscribers via traditional cable systems that have access to those regions. Well, that just exists. We went from an all-time high in America of about 100 million cable subscribers to the neighborhood now of between 60 and 70 million. And so those RSNs suffered accordingly. And it did have an impact. The owner of the regional sports networks that were known under the Fox Sports or the Bally's or now FanDuel went through a bankruptcy, restructuring and everything else. And the result was that teams that stayed with them through this transition and reorganization have taken somewhere between 25 and 40% haircuts on their rights fee deals going forward, simply to stay in business. And certainly the Grizzlies were one of those. So, there's again some restructuring amongst FanDuel Network under the new ownership, under the revised ownership called Main Street. And they've done some alterations to how the games are being produced. These are called remote productions, and a lot of the graphics and some other production elements are being done out of a broadcast center in Denver. So while the announcers are in the arena and the cameramen are in the arena, some of the other folks involved in the broadcast are inserting graphics and scorebugs and things like that out of a state-of-the-art broadcast center, but it's in Denver, Colorado. So technology enables a lot of things, and this, of course, keeps a consolidated workforce at that broadcast center, and they're achieving some efficiencies that way, and that can help them since they're no longer getting the sub fees at the levels they once were.
All right, let's move to a different sport. Let's go to college football. Let's go to the Tigers. I know you asked me earlier what I thought would be the crowd number. Would it be a sellout at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium this weekend? I think it would have been had the Tigers beaten Birmingham, beaten UAB, but they didn't. And so with the threat of rain and I think some wet spirits, it won't be a sellout. I do think they'll get close to the 30,000, 29, 28, 30, somewhere in there on Saturday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think it is a shame that they didn't come in here unbeaten and have that momentum, as we discussed earlier, really on a roll and all of that. But, something like you get to this stage, this deep into the season, and you see a team that is 6-1 hosting a nationally ranked opponent, and you go and you recall, Ed Scott saying earlier this year, the Memphis athletic director, that, the fans need to support the team now to prove to the outside conferences that they would like to be a part of that they, in fact, are worthy of that consideration. He said now is the time to prove it, not wait till you get into a league and then support the team. So I think, you just look at this situation. They are 27-6 over the past 2.5 seasons. That includes the 6-1 start this year. 27-6 with 2 bowl wins. Sometimes you ask yourself the question, how high is up? This is pretty far, and this is pretty close to the high point of up. Now, I realize there has not been a conference championship or a playoff berth during that time. But let's face it, if the only teams that got significant and appropriate fan support were the conference champions, we would have very spotty attendance throughout the rest of football, right?
Right.
So, you would like to see a team that is performed about as well as one might expect in the context of whatever your conference is. I mean, you can only play the schedule that you're given. You can only beat the teams on the schedule. And if you're winning 27 out of 33 games, and there are, at the very least, just off the top of your head, you can think of 4 wins against Power 4 teams in those things because 2 of the bowl games, and then each of the past 2 years there's been a game against, Florida State and Arkansas. So you have all of those things going. You get to this point, a key conference game, and this conference is better than most people thought it was going to be this year. And we're not thinking about a sellout because they stubbed their toe in a weird situation last week that was, I would think, pretty well affected by the fact that they did lose their quarterback during the game, right?
True. So first series, second half. You're part of the reason why I love chatting with you is you give us the whys. Okay? Why? Why do you think, with all this winning, they got the 4th best home record in college football since 2014. Why is it, do you think, they aren't getting 40,000 per game?
Well, I do not think that the community is that interested enough to support it at that level. That's the only thing you can conclude, I guess. I mean, I've been here for 10 years. We've seen some pretty good years, but again, one big-time sellout during that time was the SMU game, and they sold $9 tickets to do it. So the question becomes, in the context of spending this amount of money to revise the stadium, in the context of believing you belong in another conference, the question is, do you, if you don't have the organic support for the program?
Or I would say to you, if they did get in the different conference, there would be more interest because the perception, really until this year, and still a problem with basketball, is the league is not compelling. That is a part of the equation. I think there's other factors. They're socioeconomical. There's always the thing is, I go back to my teacher in this business, George Lapidus, who said that he told, and several people did, the University of Memphis get a loan because you could get a cheap loan back in 1970, buy your way for a couple $1 million into the SEC. That was big money then. And had they done that, everything would be different. If you got into a power conference, I believe there would be a lot more interest. But it's, what came first, the egg, chicken, or the egg? To say you got to prove it first is tougher. But how can I prove to you that it would happen if they got in the league? We'd have to wait and see.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, chicken and egg. I think sometimes the thing is how you define success. And if the only way you're going to define success here is that you're in the Southeast Conference, then I think you are likely in for some long-term disappointment.
Then you're doomed for failure. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon.
Joe Denk, as always, we appreciate it. I will see you next Wednesday. I look forward to that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dave.
That's our man. That is Joe Denk. Joseph, brought to you in part by Dinstall's. Halloween's really right around the corner now, and Dinstall's has lots of spooky treats for your ghosts and your goblins, from chocolate haunted houses to those great caramel apples. You can stop on by. 5 locations today to swoop up all your fall favorites. Don't forget tailgating, too. Next week is the last week you can get those caramel apples, which come all kinds of different ways. I'm a purist. I like the caramel with some pecan, but you can get cashew crunch on them now. You can get chocolate with them. You can do a combination of everything. It's amazing. Halloween, tailgate, caramel apples, it's all happening at Dinstall's downtown, Dinstall's Germantown in Collierville, my neck of the woods in Laurelwood, and of course where they make them in Pleasant View. Go make it a wonderful, sweet Halloween at Dinstall's. We're back to talk World Series with our baseball guy. That's Tim Doolin. He's next.
You have opinions?
I think it's over.
Of course you do.
I don't think it's that simple.
Everyone does.
I got all the answers.
Hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
The next time you are having a business meeting and you get to choose the restaurant, here's an idea. Choose Sunrise. Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar are the perfect locations for a relaxed conversation about work issues. Going to some chain restaurant where it's too loud and the servers aren't focused completely on giving you and your coworkers perfect service is just going to make a meeting more complicated. But if you meet at either Sunrise location, you can rely on a comfortable atmosphere with terrific service and, as an added bonus, great food served fresh and fast.
Hi, folks. Colin here. Last Major League Baseball postseason, you probably saw something unusual. Strauss on every batting helmet. They made history as the first brand ever with their logo on the postseason batting helmet. Pretty cool, right? That red ostrich definitely stood out. Their work pants are award-winning, durable, comfortable, loaded with pocket designs that actually make sense. Their jackets are built to take on whatever the day throws at you. Weather, wear, or long hours. And the boots? Tough enough for real work. Versatile enough that you'll want to keep them on after the job's done. They got smart pocket systems, too, that keep your essentials right where you need them and comfort that lasts all day. From the job site to the weekend, Strauss makes gear that works as hard as you do. It's not just workwear, it's a tool you can wear. Once you try it, you'll see why so many pros trust the name Strauss. From grit to glory. Check out Strauss.com, STRAUSS.com. Again, Strauss.com. You're up now with Strauss.
It's Landers truck and SUV season at Landers Ford in Collierville. New F-150s with incredible lease offers, plus Explorer and Expedition with X-Plan demo priced offers. The price you see is the price you pay. No hidden addendums. That's the Landers difference and what's made us the #1 Ford dealer in Greater Memphis. Inventory is moving fast. Get into a new F-150 or check out Explorer and Expedition X-Plan demo priced offers at Landers Ford in Collierville. Need to get out of your current vehicle? We're paying top dollar for trades. Keep the cash or use it to upgrade and save even more on your upgrade. Find out how much your trade is worth and get started buying online now with our Landers Easy Pass at LandersFordMemphis.com or give us a call to schedule your test drive today. Landers Ford in Collierville. Remember, if it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much.
As reported on Ford's 2024 total new vehicle retail sales report in Memphis market. Price tax, metal license, $695 processing fee. See dealer for complete details. Offer ends November 3/25. Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The World Series starts on Friday. Can't wait for all of that. The Dodgers, the Toronto Blue Jays. Tim Doolin joins us now. Before we get into the Fall Classic, let's talk a little bit about Matt Cain, who got into the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. Of course, he had a perfect game in the big leagues, was a unbelievable pitcher, and got into the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. But as a youngster, Matt Cain was a Doolin Dodger. You got any good stories, Tim?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got good stories, but he was, first of all, he was just mature beyond his years, even as a young 15 and 16-year-old. He played 1 year with us, and I can remember after his junior year, his velocity was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't first round. And then we took him he had a great summer, his junior summer. We took him to Jupiter to play in Perfect Game's World Wooden Bat. And at the time, Perfect Game was just kind of coming on the scene. And yet this was like in October. It's been going on for 20-some-odd years. But all the major league teams would send 6 to 7 of their brass and high-level scouts. And at the time, Charlie Lee was involved with the program.
Right. Great
And
Charlie Lee.
he obviously saw a lot in that, and as well as Lane McCarter and Collins Day at Houston, who he played for. But we go there, and all of a sudden he started hitting some new numbers. I can remember 93, 94, and that's what ultimately gets major league teams excited about a high school guy. He was very physical, even at that age, and just his demeanor of how he went about his business, even at that young age, in front of, it was literally like we were in Iraq. There were like guns pointed at him from everywhere. Hundreds of guns. And he just commanded the moment, and then he had a great senior year. He actually had signed to go to play at Memphis. He was a young graduate at 17, and the Giants drafted him, and it really took a little bit of time back then. It was totally different than the climate of the draft is today, but the draft was in June, first week of June, so he played with us probably about a little over a month before Kyle Rote and Jimmy Sexton got his deal done with the Giants. But we had him on a strict pitch count, took him out. It didn't matter what the situation of the game was, just to continue to get him work. Obviously, The Giants followed him wherever he went. But, and one unique thing about that situation was that I think he would have been perfectly content going to Memphis. He loved Memphis. He loved everything about it. Loved, the coaching staff at the time. I think Dave Anderson was there.
Right.
But yet, I think he made a really good decision, because when you look at, the sooner the saying is, Wolo, is the sooner you get in the system, the sooner you get to the big leagues, the sooner you get to big leagues, the sooner you get to arbitration and free agency.
Right.
Well, if he would have gone to Memphis, he would have lost 3 years on the back end of his career, in which he got a really big contract. His last contract was a big contract, which really, put him over the top from a wealth perspective. So, obviously, he and everybody involved made a great decision, had a great career, super guy, super family man, and just very, very proud of what he's done, not just in baseball, but even after baseball. I know he's very very giving and just lives a simple lifestyle, which you got to respect.
Well, and just to put an exclamation point on that decision in regards to wealth, he ended up retiring at 33. So those front years and that big contract really came into play at the exact right time. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, I thought, were on the ropes. They're one of the few teams, I think 6 all-time in ALCSs that have ever come back from down 2-0. They were down 2-0, and they lost at home. It was a weird series. I was really kind of pulling for the Mariners because they've never won the American League pennant. But here's George Springer and a 3-run homer in a Game 7 that will be remembered forever, and on to the World Series.
Well, I think what's ironic, and we've talked about it the whole year, over the years, is I think for the first time in a while, you've got 2 teams that play complete game of baseball. They hit, they pitch, they've got great bullpens, they've got power, they've got guys that can put the ball in play, that can move runners and do all the little things. And they've got great benches. I think this series could go six games for sure. I like the Dodgers. Because they've been there and done it. The only knock I would say on the Blue Jays is they only have one guy in Max Scherzer and Springer that have ever been to the World Series. So that's going to play a heavy part of this. But when you look at these lineups and you look at the starting rotation for the Dodgers, it's scary. You could see Shohei Ohtani twice if it happens. And not to discount Glasnow and all the guys they've got. Snell's pitching lights out. And then you look over at the Blue Jays, and not as many name recognition guys, but you do have Max Scherzer, who's been there and done that, and is pitching on pretty good high right now and is really good. I just like the Dodgers, but I do think it's going to be a great World Series.
It's like Scherzer found the fountain of youth. I was amazed with that, but not as amazed as the Brewers getting swept. This was a Milwaukee team with the best record in baseball. And
right.
I thought the Dodgers had too good a lineup. Forget about that starting pitching, which was brilliant in this. But that starting lineup, I didn't think they could be sweeping the Milwaukee Brewers. And then there's Ohtani. And I got to ask you this, because you've lived baseball your whole life. You've been around it your whole life. You know the history of it because you love the game. There are some that are saying 3 home runs in a playoff and 10 strikeouts in, what did he go, 5 2/3 or 6 complete,
right?
Whatever it was, might be the greatest performance in the history of the game. You buy any of that stuff?
Well, yeah. You
is
have
that
to
the
buy
greatest
it.
performance?
No one's ever done that. I mean, you look at, okay, Reggie Jackson hits 3, right? He didn't pitch. I mean, it's just hard
there
to
was
find anybody.
There was a Philly pitcher, I think. Why is somebody like that had 2 home runs in pitch shutout baseball? I don't think he had 10 Ks though.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, and when I've talked to Mookie, it's more in the off season about like Ohtani, and he just shakes his head. It's like, this guy doesn't take batting practice on the field. He did most recently because he had been struggling so mightily in the playoffs, but he's just got a routine. He stays in the process. I think the discipline from his culture, and he stays in the moment. He doesn't panic. And he looked terrible, I mean, in the onset of that series,
right,
and even prior to that. But he didn't waver. He just kept working and never shows, you know, any emotion to the good or to the bad. And I think we're witnessing the best player that's ever played the game, that ever will play the game, because there's not going to be anybody that's going to be able to do both. Again, I don't think.
Do you think it's because he came up in Japan that they allowed that? Because if you're a Doolin Dodger, are you letting anybody go both ways like that?
Yeah, we do, but I mean, they're not even in that conversation. It's so I don't know that it's because he's from Japan. I think if you talk about his culture, the discipline, I think lends to the fact that he's able to do what he's doing, as gifted as he is as an athlete. But, I mean, I can tell you right now, Austin Riley was a dominant pitcher. Dominant. He was up to 95 with a plus slider. He could have done both. It's just hard to do that. And the fact that Ohtani had done it with the Angels and had proven, look, and he's had 2 surgeries. I mean, that's crazy to think that he's still able to throw in the mid to upper 90s and command the secondary pitches.
He had 100 in that game. Yeah.
And the work ethic that you people don't realize unless you've played the game and been a part of it day in and day out, how difficult it is to be able to go through the rigors and the routine that he has to go through to do both. He's got to get his running in. He's got to get his side bullpen days in. Oh, by the way, I'm hitting every day, so how do I balance out to where I don't get fatigued?
He's got it down, baby. He's got it down.
You got to do it all.
Yeah.
You know?
Tim Doolin, we'll talk World Series when we speak next week. Thank you so much.
All right, Wolo, thanks.
That's our man on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by Southern Security. Need cash? You can refinance your auto loan with Southern Security and have no payments for a whole 60 days. Southern Security, they'll finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle, and that's up to 72 months. To find out how to put more cash in your pocket, just call a service member. They got guys ready at 901-452-7900, or you can apply directly on the website at southernsecurity.org. Southern Security, your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. Wednesday's in the books for us, but Johnny Radio's right around the corner. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everyone.